In this video, we will see how we can create vector graphics, so vectorial shapes and lines and curves into RHINO 7. And this is also what is called CAD, so computer aided design. It's the same thing as working in AutoCAD, for example. So we can create vector graphics in AutoCAD, Illustrator, but also here in RHINO. You can actually use RHINO just for the 2D part if you want, but of course you're gonna miss all the wonderful 3D modeling part. So let's get started here. We're gonna see a lot of different 2D drawing tools like points, lines, curves, circles, ellipse, polygon, arc, and also a lot of options and parameters which are really useful. So I will create a new scene here, and I will stick with the large objects centimeters, and there you go. Let's get started. Now the point is pretty simple to understand. Now I also want to switch this view here in the bottom to a top view, so we can leave here. And you see here I have extracted all the toolbars just by clicking and click here on the toolbar and extract it like this. You can also dock it to the interface, but I'm gonna leave it like this so you can see, you can have the full picture of what we are going to do here. So it's just working with 2D drawings. So points, it's really simple. It's just a single point, or we can call this a vertex. If you are talking about vector graphics, this is a vertex. When you create a line, you have two vertices and one line. Then you can click and move the line, or you can click and move the vertices and create a transformation of that line. And points are really easy, but can be helpful sometimes. So you have single point, you have multiple points, and then you start to have a lot of different creation method. For example, you can divide a curve by length and divide curve by number of segments. So if you click here and you want to divide this curve and press enter, okay, and then you can select, well, also the curve direction, and if you want to split, yes or no, well, let's say yes, and also the length of the segments. So the total curve length is 500, so here I can type, for example, 100 and press enter, and so I will have here, you can see, divided that curve into many different portions. Also you have the point, closest point, so this is gonna let you select a curve there and press enter, and then you can define a point in that curve. So you have the point and you have the curve. And also this one is really interesting, a grid. So each time you will open up a particular command, you will also be prompted to do some options here, to select some options. So for example, here you can increase the count of the X points and the epsilon. So I will have 10 rows and 10 columns of points, basically. Okay, there you go. So this is a grid now of different points. And also this one is pretty interesting. It's a drape point grid over an object. So I need to create an object first. I will create a sphere, and then I will select this, click and drag like I'm creating a rectangle above that object, and then you can see what happened. It's like, you know, the points have been like placed on top of that sphere. Now let's change the view here to shaded, and if I move the sphere, the points will still be there and I can use them. Now how can I use points? Well, actually you can use them in many ways. If you activate the point snap here, and for example I will select a curve, I will click now and insert that particular curve inside this grid, for example. This is the first way. Now if you notice when I create this curve, this is called a interpolated point curve. The points were inside the curve. So let's start to talk about curves. You have two types of curves basically. One is with the interpolation point, which are gonna be inside the curve. And the other one is with the control point. So let me create another one here. Okay. Still using the points. Right click to finish the line. Okay, and you can see here that I've used the control access points, which were outside the curve. Now, the first time it's difficult to notice, but if I select this, you can see that these points that I've placed are all outside the curve. In this case, I've placed the points inside the curve. This is the difference between the control vertices curve or the interpolate points curve. Now I can see here, if I select the curve, I can see the control vertices. So I can click here and manipulate this curve using those vertices, and also here. But where are my interpolation points gone? Well, I can always get them back from here. I can switch from the curves inside the points inside the curve and the control vertices which are outside the curve. So these are the actual vertices inside, and select the curve and press enter also if you want. Now you have two ways to run commands here. You either select first the object and then click the command, or you click the command, select the objects, press enter, and then you will run the command. So essentially, if you select first the object and then run the command, you're gonna do one step less and it's gonna be quicker. Okay, now let's jump back here to the lines. We saw how we can create a simple line and a polyline, but here we also have other different creations. For example, here I can create a line from the middle point. Now, usually when you create one of these types of commands, you always gonna see here in the options some of the features that we'll find here. For example, this is called both sides. So I can start with a simple line and then convert it to both sides if I want. Also, Polyline has a lot of other options. This one also can be interesting. It's a normal to surface line, so I need a surface. In this case, I have a sphere there, so I can click there and just select a point, and that's gonna be the normal. So it's gonna be the direction perpendicular to that face. So sometimes you can create these 2D objects just by clicking on the command. Other times you need to have a solid or a mesh or something that you can work with in order to create. Okay, you can create a line from 4 points. This is also interesting. Or you can create a line through points. This is again an example on how the points can be useful. So I select those points, press enter, and that's gonna be like an average line that's gonna go through all that points. And then you have perpendicular from curve, or perpendicular to 2 curves. So if I create 2 curves, again, let's create a control point curve. You can see now the control points and an interpolate points. Okay, and now I can select, for example, tangent or perpendicular to 2 curves, and that's my line right there. So here you just have to click and it's gonna generate it for you. Let's say tangent to tangent 1 and 2, and well, I think this cannot be done right here, but if I change the shape here a little bit, I will find a way. Of course, I need to have the correct situation. So let's try here again. And let's do tangent, tangent. So 1 and 2, and that's my tangent right there. It's the only point there that it's gonna find my tangent. Okay, also we have the polyline through points. So I can use polyline through points. So here I will just click some points and press enter, and there's my polyline right there. Or I can do convert curve to polyline. So if I have a curve here, let me create another curve. Okay, and now I want to convert it to a polyline. I can click here, and there's my polyline there. Here you should set usually the minimum length. In this case it's 300, so I have a minimum of 300 length, and also I can set a maximum. So if I say minimum, maximum 300, these are all gonna be 300 centimeters long. So each segment is gonna be 300 centimeters. And then I can create a polyline on mesh, but I don't have the mesh, so again I need to create one. Let's create, for example, a simple sphere, and then I can use this one here, select the mesh, and start this polyline on this mesh directly on the surface. So look how many things you can do here in RHINO using 2D and then also 3D. Now here with the right mouse you can create a curve through points. So again we can use points, and I will use, for example, this. Now it's important the sequence of the points. So if I go back here, it's gonna come back. So press enter, and that's your curve there. Again, you can change this here. You have a lot of options. We cannot go through all the single options, all the single commands, because it would take like I don't know, 24 hours. So what you should do is you should consider to experiment with some of these little by little, and then you can understand what all of these are for. But you get the point here. Just follow the instructions and you don't have to worry about anything. So I just want to show you some more. Well, this is Sketch also, and it's interesting, but it's also easy to understand. This one, it's also one of the primary. The right mouse here is going to create a curve with handles. So the first, it's an handle, and then you create a point, and then you create a handle, then you create a point, and then you create a handle, point, handle, point, handle. Okay, when you finish, right click, click again, and then now you don't only have the vertices with the control vertices, but you also have these additional control points, which are handles. And you can create more advanced stuff. You can create logos with this. You can create any vector graphics basically. And let's move on. So let me show you something else. For example, here you can create a twin between two curves. This is also one of my favorites. So let's create here a curve and another curve. Okay. And now select the twin between two curves, select the first, select the second, and there you go. Amazing. And you can change also the number here of lines that you want. Again, go through the options all the time because you can find something interesting in there. And press enter, and that's really wonderful as well. Then you have some more complex and almost 3D stuff, which is the helix or the vertical helix. So this one here is the helix, and you can see it's creating this from the top, but I can see that it's 3D, or you have a vertical helix. So I can create it right here, and then it's gonna show there. And here you really have a lot of different options like diameter, turns, and the pitch, and so on. So you can really spend a lot of time just for this tool here. And also a spiral and a flat spiral. Now let's go for the spiral, which is more interesting. So again, I'm gonna create here a radius, and then you can see I can create kind of a cone with the line. So it's almost 3D. Something, well, it's actually 3D because I'm moving into 3 dimension, but it's not a surface, it's not a solid yet. It's just a 2D object. Let's go to the next one, circles. Now you can see the circle is just the same circle, but you can create it in many different ways. You can create, for example, a circle tangent to 3 curves. So if I have 3 curves here really near let's create, for example, line and curve like that. Okay, I can find what's the perfect circle inside these 3 tangents. There you go. And also you have many other options here, like circle, tangent, tangent, radius. So 2 tangent and 1 radius. This can be placed, for example, right here. There you go. And circle 3 points, circle diameter. Oh, that one disappeared, so I'm going to make it again. And yeah, you can set the radius, let's say 100, and enter. There you go. So be careful that you finish the command, otherwise you're gonna lose it, and you need to close it in order to have it. Now you can see that when you also create preset shapes, you always have these control vertices, and you can switch them also to the curve, the interpolation points, which will be inside the curve. So you're gonna change here. You can make more complex shapes, or you can convert these into a polyline. So there's really no limit to your editing here and imagination. And we're going to talk about editing tools, which are these ones here later on. And let's see the arc. So arc, center, start, angle. So always look there and understand how things will be done. So again, you can follow here. This is the start and then the finish. So follow the instructions. That's all you need to do, and find the most appropriate version of the creation of that particular shape. Okay, so this is start and radius. So this could be good here, for example. So start and radius. And I can choose it to create it there in the view, or I can just type the radius. So I can say, okay, 500 and press enter. And let's move on. Arcs through points. Convert curve to arcs. Rectangle. Okay, also rectangle is really easy. You can do it with your eyes closed. Click. This one is from the middle. Now I just want to again remark the thing that when you create something, you can change here, and you will usually find all the different options that you find here. So for example, here you can change this to edge midpoint, and you can make it rounded. So this is midpoint. Let's click, and then you have rounded. And usually you have these options also here. This is the rounded rectangle again, and right mouse is the rounded rectangle with conic corners. It's a little bit more complex. Let's make it. There you go. So it has different way to work with the corners. And again, you can select the control vertices and change it again. Okay, now let's finish here with the polygon. So here you have the standard polygon. You usually go here and set the sides right away. So if you have, for example, 5, press enter. And then you have inscribed, circumscribed, and you can change, you can make it a star. So let's create this first, and this is a simple pentagon, and this one here is a star, but it's the same creation method. Now let's make this a 8-point star, press enter, and click, and there's the star. Just need to define a second radius for this. Now also another interesting is the circle around the curve, and also you can do this with the star around curve. Now this will mean that I can place that star inside the curve. For example, I can place it here. I can place it and click and drag and create my star, and you can see it in 3D. That is in the other direction, not in the same plane, but in another construction plane. And you can use this later to sweep this on this curve, for example. So many of these are apparently not useful at first sight, but then probably they're useful when you will create 3D objects and something that's gonna be real specific, and you will need that specific command. So make sure that you test this out, make sure you make all your experiments. Now you have all the notions to go by yourself and continue to experiment with vector graphics here in RHINO. And this will be all for this video. So thanks for watching, and we're going to come back eventually for the 2D drawings also in other videos. And so this will not be the end of the 2D drawings, of course, in RHINO, but this was an overview of everything we can do. And so this will be all for this video. Please subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us a little bit more, you can join, and also check our other videos and courses. So thanks for watching. See you in the next video.